CNN spoke to a young Kurdish boy in Syrian territory who was captured by ISIS and eventually released. And they captured this fascinating moment where the boy describes how he now thinks ISIS is right.
Marwan says when ISIS first grabbed them, he was terrified. They took us to the mosque and they had us pray. They taught us to pray and we went to the school, a primary school that would be their prison. Marwan says they questioned if he had ties to Kurdish fighters. I said, we don't have anyone. They hit me with cables 5-6 times. Others were more severely beaten, some electrocuted, even hung from the ceiling, he says. And as in this ISIS video showing their child recruits, the kidnapped schoolboys were also entrenched in ISIS's version of Islam. We were afraid of them. When are they going to kill us? Today? Tomorrow? And then we found out the truth, that they don't just slaughter someone without evidence, without finding out if they are an infidel or not, Marwan says. The schoolboys were forced to watch videos like this, of beheadings and amputations, but not, he says, to instill fear. They wanted us to know the truth, that they don't just grab a random person off the street and execute him without evidence, only if they are infidels. Then we ask what he thinks of ISIS, and his response stuns the entire room. They are right, he says.
Ooh, that is creepy. Now, the reason why I'm showing you this and why I wanted to talk about it is that it really, really shows you something interesting about human psychology. And you guys have heard me go off on my rants before about the idea of nature versus nurture and how there are some things in life that are clearly pure nature. There are other things that are pure nurture. And then most things probably are a mix of both. Factors go into both. But what we're seeing here is an example of your environment and nurture changing somebody's mind and influencing them, in this case in a very negative way. What you're seeing is the power of fear and propaganda and indoctrination. So if you're put in a position where you're in a corner, okay, and you think these guys might kill me, these guys are beating people, these guys are beating me, these guys are scary, and so you're scared, this is fear, okay, then you're going to be much more open to the idea of if they give you a second option. That second option being, well, you could disagree with us and then we might kill you, or I can explain to you the multitude of reasons why we think we are right and let you in on our theory as to why we're doing what we're doing. And you see, I mean, young men, young people in general, but in this case, a young man, young boy, they're very susceptible to just having their mind changed based on anything. You know, show some videos of beheadings and explain, no, these are infidels. It's okay. See, we only do it to people where there's evidence. It's so funny he's using the word evidence as he's talking about mass executions of innocent people. He's like, it's okay, they had evidence. Evidence of what? That they slightly disagree with me about my interpretation of Islam. That's a reason to kill them? And you see his parents or his family there, they're Kurds. The Kurds, by the way, are well known for being very, very moderate Muslims. Vice did a great piece about how they have female fighters in the northern region of Syria, and they're fighting against, the bad rebels, the al-Nusra and ISIS and Assad, and they basically want to set up, Kurdistan, not only in Syria but elsewhere too, but in the Vice documentary they were showing in Syria specifically. So they're well known for being pretty moderate, and then you see the family like, whoa, what? You agree with these people who are currently slaughtering our people, slaughtering Kurds? By the way, there's another article out today about how a border town in Syria right next to Turkey, ISIS is about to take it over. So, this is like, to be the family member of this boy and hear him say that, you must be torn apart inside. But look, this shows you, man, propaganda is effective. Indoctrination is effective. So the bottom line becomes, And again, you guys know me. I don't think the U.S. should get involved in this unless it's a clear example of, like the Yazidi on the mountaintop, that I understand, to save them from being slaughtered. And again, I think you should get UN approval and NATO approval and go through Congress in order to do it. So I'm not in favor of the U.S. getting involved militarily in the region, but here's what needs to be done. There needs to be, from other groups in the region, okay, whether we're talking about Alawites in Syria, Shiites in Iran, moderate Sunnis on the ground in Iraq, wherever, there needs to be a battle in this propaganda war where you don't just have one message coming from one group, that group being ISIS, because you need to battle for the hearts and minds of the young men in the region, because if you don't and you let ISIS take over and do that, then they're going to grow more and more. They're preening the youth, okay? Believe me, I know that ISIS, as of today, they're nowhere near as big a threat of Nazi Germany, right? Because they had an air force and a military and many more people, okay? But this is the same tactics. This is the tactics of the Hitler Youth. So it's a scary thing to see, and this tells you quite a bit about human psychology. And maybe the right idea is not necessarily for the U.S. to get involved and fight militarily, okay? Because it's not our fight, right? If there was a direct threat of attack against the homeland, then I'd be in favor of fighting in that way. But maybe the right thing to do is to try to win in the propaganda wars, win for the battle of the minds.